तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। वंदे गुरुर्मंडलम। शिवोहम। Welcome to the series of talks on Shiv Swaroday. Shiv Swaroday is an ancient tantric text. It is in the form of dialogue between Lord Shiva and Ma Parvati. The benefits of this ancient science are not limited to spiritual growth, but can also present the sadhak with immense material pleasures too. It demands certain amount of discipline and dedication from the sadhak. So far we have discussed 71 verses of this text. Therefore, if you are watching this as one of your first video, I request you to watch related videos from the beginning for better understanding. The link to the playlist is provided in the description box for your easy access. As I have told you in initial lectures that Swar science is both an unfailing divination science and a system of self-discovery. In these verses that I wish to speak on today are about the divination aspect of Swar Yoga. To be precise, these verses are going to further enhance the capacity of the practitioner to give out the most accurate, unfailing and real-time prediction about the results of any action or any event without going into and learning all the cumbersome rules of astrology. In fact, if Swar practices are approached in a proper way as directed by your guru, the practitioner can achieve perfection in about a decade, 14 years to be precise. If one leads the sincere lifestyle of a yogi, such as Swar Yogi, if chooses to get into the field of prediction or reading future, he or she can beat all the astrologers through his predictions. An astrologer can be 70 to 90% accurate, but a Swar Yogi will be close to 100%. You all would have experienced that astrologers do fail more than they succeed in predicting future events accurately. Why? The predictions through the astrology require extremely complicated calculations and very high degree of accuracy is needed in obtaining the subject's time of birth. In fact, if we get to the formal astrology and its calculations, particularly about the dasha system, even a master astrologer would be confused in giving out specific predictions moment by moment. Your obvious question will be, why is it so difficult to make any prediction about the outcome of any specific action using the astrological dasha system? Well, I think it will be best explained through an example. Your birth chart has 9 planets occupying their places in 12 zodiac signs. These 12 zodiac signs or rashis become your different houses based on the lagna rising at the time of the birth. Lagna is also a zodiac sign, but it is that sign which is rising in the east at the time of birth. The sign that was rising in the east at the time of your birth becomes your lagna or first house. The planet that owns this rashi will become Lagnesh or Lagna Lord. And most importantly, your other houses will have specific rashis depending on this Lagna rashi. For example, if the star or constellation rising in east at the time of your birth was Leo, then Leo becomes your first house with Lagna Lord being Sun. And by virtue of Leo being first house, the second house will be Virgo, the third will be Libra, fourth Scorpio, and so on till 12th house getting the ownership of Cancer. Now, based on which constellation the moon occupies in your chart, your moon sign or your personal rashi is defined. Another astrological inference that is drawn immediately based on this house rashi arrangement is lordships of different houses in your personal chart. The third most important thing in your birth chart is Dasha Shesh. Dasha Shesh calculation is based on moon's transit in different stars and is a bit complicated. Also, this calculation is not required in case of Swar Vigyan, so I am omitting that calculation. But I must tell you what is Dasha Shesh. Dasha Shesh means balance Bhogya Dasha of any Graha or planet that was operative at the time of your birth. This planet shall be owner of minimum 1 or maximum 2 houses of your Kundali. Here each house represents various domains, personal traits, characteristics, relationships, etc. Why is this Dasha important? Because based on this Dasha pattern and the cosmic transits, your life events are panned out. Any astrologer who is not following the system of Prashna Kundali or Ramal Kundali heavily depends on analyzing the Dasha running for the time period of your life in question. Although there are many Dasha systems, more than 40 to be precise, such as Yogini Dasha, Char Dasha, Vimshottari Dasha, Jaimini Dasha, and so on. The two most commonly used Dasha systems are Yogini and Vimshottari. Having given you this brief understanding of Dasha system and its importance, let me now take you to the part of predictive astrology where the difficulty starts rising in interpreting the Dasha. It gets difficult because there is not only one Dasha of a planet, but there is Dasha after Dasha and Dasha within Dasha. Here, without getting into theory, I am taking liberty to use different phases of one Dasha of Vimshottari to put across the point. Suppose it is your second house Dasha running. In our example, we have the first house as Leo, so the second house will be Virgo. The owner of Virgo is a Graha, the Mercury. So technically, it will be called Mercury Dasha. Mercury Dasha runs for 17 years. But as I said, it is not as simple as it seems. I told you that there are dashas within dashas. So what is it like? Well, in the 17 years of Mercury Dasha, all 9 planets will have their own share of time in specific sequence and ratios. So now this 17 years gets divided into 9 parts. Mercury in Mercury, Ketu in Mercury, Venus in Mercury, Sun in Mercury, Moon in Mercury, Mars in Mercury, Rahu in Mercury, Jupiter in Mercury, and Saturn in Mercury. This level of analysis will be called Antardasha. Then there is another level of Dasha within each of these 9 Antardasha periods. Just for example, if I take up a second period of Ketu in Mercury, then it will be further divided in 9 parts and will look like this. Ketu in Mercury, Venus in Ketu in Mercury, Sun in Ketu in Mercury, Moon in Ketu in Mercury, Mars in Ketu in Mercury, Rahu in Ketu in Mercury, Jupiter in Ketu in Mercury, Saturn in Ketu in Mercury, and Mercury in Ketu in Mercury. This level of analysis is known as Pratyantar Dasha. One thing you may have noticed that is that now the 17 years of Mercury Dasha has been divided into 81 portions of unequal durations. These chunks of time periods are not ruled by Mercury only, but 3 grahas or planets. But let me tell you, the Dasha system does not stop here. There is yet another level of division, which means now there will be 4 planets ruling any particular time period, and also this 17 year has now been divided into 729 portions. This level of analysis is known as Sukshma Dasha. Is it over? No. It is not yet over. These subdurations are further divided in 9 portions each. Therefore, any particular moment in these 6,561 portions, an astrologer will have to analyze the impact of 5 planets. This level of analysis is known as Pran Dasha analysis. Where is the difficulty in interpretation of any dasha system? The difficulty lies in interpreting individual charts based on cosmic movements. This cosmic movement is known as transit. The highest degree of difficulty is in trying to consolidate the impact of 5 planets in any given moment and predicting a result. And that is the reason even the best of the astrologers can't predict the outcome of any action or event with 100% accuracy. There is a high degree of intuition involved in making correct predictions. That too, moment by moment, action by action. Gurudev told me that the astrologer who solely depends on his personal intellect and mathematical calculations will fail, but the one who gets closer to one's Isht through sadhana has higher degree of success. Without Isht Devta's support and sadhana, the required intuition is not developed. So, if astrology also works best with sadhana, why not one only does sadhana and enjoy all the benefits of astrology? Exactly. So, we should focus on the yoga, the Swar Yoga, and move to the next verses of Shiv Swarudaya. The next verses connected with today's discussion are 72nd and 73rd verses. Let's take the 72nd verse. Aho ratrasya madhye tu Yeya Dwadash Sankramaha Vrishkarkat Kanyali Mrigmeena Nishakare. It means during the period of a day and night, 12 zodiac signs transit: Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. Transit in the lunar swar. The next verse is also related, so we will take it together. The 73rd verse. Mesh Singho cha Kumbhascha Tula cha Mithunam Dhanum Udye Dakshine Gyayah Shubha Ashubha Vinirnayah. It means Aries, Leo, Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, and Sagittarius. These signs transit in solar swar. One should decide on auspicious and inauspicious time depending on the transition of the zodiac signs. So the combined meaning of both the verses is that there is this group of 6 signs or rashis that belong to the moon, and another group of 6 rashis belong to the sun. The verses tell us that when on a given moment a person is venturing into any project, he should just check the swar. As we have already discussed, the types of work we can take up in each type of swar. So just aligning your work with the swar and the rashi prevailing will ensure the success in that project. You don't have to get into cumbersome calculations and memorizing astrological sutras. You don't have to have someone's birth date and time. You don't need to learn about lordships, nature, Graha Maitri, Shadbal, and so many things. It's clear that Swar Vigyan doesn't insist on the personal horoscope or even the chart of the particular time that is known as transit chart. Instead, Lord Shiva reveals the secret to us that lies in our breath. That's all for today. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I bow down to the divine sitting in your hearts. Shubham.